have a secret. I used to struggle with dull, saggy skin. Then I found Spoiled Child's E27 liquid collagen. This extra strength liquid formula, packed with type 1 and type 3 collagen, vitamin C, and hyaluronic acid, makes it so easy to visibly transform your skin and hair. No more chunky collagen powders, just a smooth, delicious liquid that can be blended with any drink. With over 100,000 five-star reviews, this liquid collagen is going viral for a reason. And with their try before you buy offer, you could try your full-size product at home before buying. Take the quiz at spoiledchild.com/quiz. That's spoiledchild.com/quiz.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
1-800-Flowers.com knows that a gift is never just a gift. A gift is an expression of everything you feel and helps to build more meaningful relationships. 1-800-Flowers takes the pressure off by helping you navigate life's important moments by making it simple to find the perfect gift. From flowers and cookies to cake and chocolate, 1-800-Flowers helps guide you in finding the right gift to say how you feel. To learn more, visit 1-800-Flowers.com/ACAST. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/ACAST.
Welcome to The Trader, a Spotify Top 10 Traitors podcast. I'm Matthew, a writer working in unscripted TV development, and I am a 100% faithful fan of the TV phenomenon, The Traitors. The Trader features deep dives into every episode of English-speaking versions of the show, as well as interviews with contestants. And this season of the pod is dedicated to The Traitors Canada Season 2. Today, after a 2-week wait because of sports or something, we're looking at episode 6. And I'm joined again by my co-host, David Bloomberg.
Yes, hello. It was very strange last week. We normally record on a Tuesday or, sometimes a Wednesday. And, I'll watch it then. And I was sitting there going, why do I have so much extra time today? What am I missing here? Oh, yes, the Canadian Traitors. That's what I'm missing. But yes, I am David Bloomberg. And for anyone who doesn't know me, where have you been? But I have been covering reality TV in print, online, in podcasts, in short videos, and basically everywhere for over 24 years.
And a couple of exciting things that have happened in this 2-week hiatus. Well, first of all, I genuinely don't know the reason. Why was Traitors Canada not on TV last week? A sporty thing, right?
Yeah, because apparently in Canada, according to the sources that I saw, here in the U.S., Monday Night Football, and that's real football, not like British, whatever you guys.
Soccer?
Yes. Monday Night Football in the U.S. airs on the same TV station every week. Apparently, it rotates in Canada.
Oh.
And this was news to me also. CTV had the rights to that particular week's game.
Okay.
I was like, that's very, very strange. But I don't know how things work in Canada. Who knows? Maybe I'll move there and find out soon enough. Who knows?
Yes. It's almost like you might have a reason to leave the US right now. Who knows?
Yeah.
Speaking of the US, we have
exciting. The US. Speaking of US traders, do you have news?
Speaking of US traders, we found out that via Alan Cumming, I think, in an interview, he revealed this week or last week that US Traitors Season 3 is officially returning on January the 9th. So we knew it was Season 3 was coming. We knew it was probably going to be like January, February, but yes, January the 9th. We have a date. I think that's a Thursday. And the sort of strange thing on top of that is now there are very heavy rumors that UK Traitors season three will also begin in January here in the UK on apparently New Year's Day. That's not really confirmed, but I can kind of believe that may be true. So,
Well, the really strange thing is that, based on the news that, came out today, I thought that U.S. Traders, the season two of the U.S. Trader was starting January 20th of next year. So,
well,
uh,
that may be true as well.
yeah.
We'll say no more. Exciting things to look forward to in January. Some not so exciting things to look forward to for you, but other good things for us. Uh, Before we dive into episode six of Traitors Canada, David, we're going to set up our game yet again. This is the Trader Traitor. Our game of betrayal and deception is about to begin, and our mission is to tell a lie to one another. Our lie has to be a fabrication or a made up fact, big or small, about the traitors or ourselves or anything else. For example, I could lie and say that actually the first 2 weeks of this podcast season, when different co hosts were filling in for me, it's because I was locked in a suspended cage, just like Gale. However, I couldn't lie by saying, I think this mission was a great idea for the game. That would be a fake opinion because I think there's a huge flaw in this mission, which I will explain as we get to it. So we're looking for fake facts rather than fake thoughts and feelings, as always. David, are you ready to begin the game and betray me?
I suppose.
Hooray! With that enthusiasm, let's get on with the game and a recap of episode six of Canada season two.
Okay, actually, I said I suppose, but I have to. I'm going to tell you something here. I could not decide on just one lie, so I'm going to drop in a couple of them.
Oh.
I'll give you the extra bonus if there's so much lying that went on in the U.S. that I figure that I should add to it. And so, and I just had a couple of good ones. So if you get either of them, I will allow you to claim victory.
Okay. Well, apparently lying gets you really far in your country, so yeah,
Yes.
you should do well in this game.
Yeah.
So, listeners, don't send me messages. We start with a recap of episode five, and I had to sort of cast my mind back and think what happened in the last 2 weeks. Some players who were sort of dubbed the Saints were offered a shield if they bid some of the prize pot for it, while the other players were off doing the actual real mission. Michael John was the only player to do so, and he bid 5k for a shield that he didn't really need. Jasmine was banished at the round table, meaning the traitors have a perfect track record at this point. Kira then finished the episode by losing her shit in the conclave, and there was a knock at the door, and the episode ended there. So we begin episode six at the same point. We're in the conclave. We know the knock at the door is going to be Karine, and then she comes with an offer of something I don't think we've seen in any English-speaking versions of the show. She wasn't offering them recruitment or anything like that. Instead, she tells them they have to choose one guest for tomorrow's mission. That guest will be locked in a cage, condemned to death. If the other players successfully free them, that player will continue on in the game. If not, they will be murdered. She shows them the correct key. So it's basically a sabotage mission in a way. Well, if they want it to be,
Right.
it's a sabotage mission. And first, I've got different thoughts about the mission and I'll sort of spread out my thoughts throughout the episode. My immediate thought was, I actually quite like that once in a while they're given a sort of sabotage type task.
Mhm.
I don't know if I want that every week, but I think it's quite good to have the opportunity for the traitors to mess up or do something that's going to help the faithful figure things out a little bit. So my immediate thought was, oh, okay, this is different. It's quite interesting. I quite like it. It's not quite death row that we've had before because it's only one
Right.
person, which creates a problem that I'll get to. But the funniest bit in the conclave was Neda saying to the other two, "What are you thinking?" And then what plays out is like a visual metaphor of just outer me and inner me most of the time. Kira says, I'm not worried. I'm not worried. And Neda says, I'm always worried. And it just made me laugh so much. Uh,
I
so
have to go
they,
back and grab that clip. That sounds very appropriate for so many things.
yes, it made me laugh. Kira clearly actually kind of worried, just going, I'm not worried. I'm not worried. And Neda just very vulnerably saying, I'm always worried. Made me laugh a lot. Kira then says, well, Michael John, you had your eye on some people before, like you've talked about Gail and Pac-Man and Mike. They are suspicious of you. You just do what you want. You pick whoever you want. I don't care anymore. Because she's convinced that he's going. So she's like, this is your last time here. You
Right.
just decide. And Neda sort of briefly interjects, but then quickly also just gives up and says, yeah, Michael John, you just take the decision, do what you want to do.
Yeah, and I mean, when we talked about this, 2 weeks ago, I had said at the time that Kira should, because everyone that Michael said would have pointed right back to him.
Mm-hmm.
Or, if the group of faithful could put one and one together, would have pointed right back at him. But then Kira, at least in the clip we saw, which was clearly deceptively edited, said, no, let's go with someone else. And I was like, why are you saying that? Just let him, don't, you already ripped into him. Don't help him now. Just let him pick those people then. So apparently she does come around to that. And yeah, as it seemed like Neda was going to object, and then Kira's like, just every time Neda is about to say something, Kira like cuts her off,
There's also a really funny little interview clip of Michael John here. He acknowledges that the other two traitors are pissed with him, and he sort of reiterates, "Oh, I just wanted to get that shield." And again, I thought,
Yeah.
why? It wasn't necessary. He had plenty of other faithful to pick from to murder. It didn't really matter if one of the faithful took the shield over you. I think he's just not getting it.
And I wonder, and I don't know if we have this information or not, I wonder how much Traitors Michael has watched in the past.
Oh, I think none at all.
Yeah, because he's making like season one of not just Canada, but season one of any version level mistakes.
Yeah.
Like he is thinking on, this very basic first level, whereas a lot of other people are several levels ahead of him.
Yeah. He even says in a couple of minutes, I'm the weakest link here. This game played me. So
Yeah.
he's sort of realizing, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I sort of think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Michael John is a wrestler. Is that his thing outside of this? Oh, he
was a wrestler. And then he, had a drug problem, which apparently was connected to the wrestling. And then from there, he recovered and then went on to, into his paranormal interests and books.
Oh, okay. Oh, yes, that's right.
Like that, which incidentally, I was researching Mike because later we'll find out, Mike's a podcaster and everything else. And later he mentions one of his podcasts, and he doesn't only do true crime. He does some paranormal stuff too.
Okay.
Specifically in Canada. And I'm like, how have these two not run into each other before?
Yeah. Yeah.
I know Canada's a big country, but I've got to think that the Canadian paranormal specific realm, how have you not run into each other before? Because there's been no indication that they know each other. And as a matter of fact, they're going head to head against each other.
Yeah.
And so I don't know, maybe Mike focuses on paranormal, like witchcraft type things, kind of like we'll get to later. Whereas Michael focuses on something else. I don't know. I don't know. I just thought that was an interesting little tidbit. And I was like, huh.
Yeah. I mean, maybe for all we know, they might have said, "Oh, I recognize you, I know you," and we just never see it, and they never reference it again. I don't know.
I just feel like if they knew each other at all, they would know their personality quirks
Mm,
enough to realize that what they're each seeing as things that are suspicious, well, I guess Michael is a traitor and Mike is not. So what Michael's doing is suspicious. But um so maybe, yeah, maybe not. I guess it could be something that's just they do know each other and it's being hidden. I guess that's a
mm,
possibility.
yeah. The reason I bring up is this wrestling past, and I guess maybe the paranormal stuff makes sense here too. Is I kind of get the impression that Michael Jordan is playing this all like a performance rather than a
Yeah.
game. So, because spoiler alert, wrestling is fake. So, I think
What?
he.
That's your lie. I know it is. That's your lie.
It's fake news. I think he's kind of trying to just act as a character and be theatrical and a bit silly, and hasn't actually realized, oh, this is a game that everyone else is taking really seriously and they want to win it. I mean, I'm sure he wants to win, but I think his focus is on appearing, yeah, sort of like an exaggerated, fun, villainous character or something. Not,
I
oh, I have to figure out how this game works.
I think you're right. Because yes, if you are, and I don't know exactly what his job is in terms of paranormal enthusiast, but
Mm.
one look at him and he fits the bill for what you would expect, like someone to go on TV or a video podcast and be like, I am Michael John. I am, and welcome to Michael John's world of the paranormal.
Yeah.
You just take one look at him with that beard and everything else. And yes, in order to do that, you do have to be an exaggerated character. They don't, they're selling themselves as much as they're, selling whatever beliefs they're promoting. And then obviously the same is true in wrestling. So it also, now that you mention it, would explain why he stays so calm in the face of being yelled at.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of people would have just turned around and screamed right back at Kira
Mm.
and been like, you have no right to tell me how to play this game. I did it for my reasons and I don't need to explain them to you. We're on equal footing here. And instead, he just went, oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And then very calmly in his confessionals, his interviews was like, yeah, they're pissed at me and I don't blame them.
Yeah.
Um, and that's not something you see often in reality TV. So
Yes.
I, I think you may have hit the nail on the head.
Mm. Well, that's that's my area of expertise. So this sort of segment, I guess, finishes with Kira saying in her interview, he's digging his grave. If not, I'll probably bury him myself. So
Mm-hmm.
we get a little sort of bit of signposting as to some of the themes of this episode.
Yes.
What we're going to be focusing on here. We move to breakfast then. Kira arrives first and tells Neda and Melinda that she's going to be messy today and that she's going for Michael John now. Neda claims that she's thinking of going for Mike. Obviously, she's pretending. And Melinda's there very confused because Melinda wants Cedric out and doesn't know what to think, hearing all these different opinions.
Mm-hmm.
And Kira is very insistent. She says that MJ, I'm calling him MJ, Michael John, is a 9 for
Yes,
her.
I was going to tell you, I'm glad you're not calling him MJ this time because you did last time. And it was very confusing to me because there was a the Big Brother, the most recent US Big Brother runner up was a woman named MJ. And so
Okay.
every time you said it, especially since it was 2 weeks ago and therefore closer to when Big Brother was on, my brain would just momentarily twitch into, thinking about that. And so yes, thank you.
Okay. All my notes say MJ. I will say Michael
Okay.
John every time.
And I
So
just I don't know why I don't say Michael John. He has one name. I don't know how he got two names. I think it's just a weird quirk, but
well, I'm going to indulge his weird quirk. So Kira says that Michael John is a 9 for her. Ned is worried that, well, if Kira's going this hard for Michael John, she may well do it to me later, so she's getting a little bit worried.
Mhm.
more players arrive at breakfast and they start to discuss who might have taken the shield in the previous mission. And Kira goes on more about really suspecting Michael, and Neda is worrying that it's a bit too much. Like she's going a bit too hard. And so do I as a viewer. I think Kira's going too hard for him. And she's always been vocal, and she's quite, she's one of the more vocal members of the team. Like she's not like a wallflower or anything, but I don't think she's gone this
Not like
hard
her
after
brother.
anyone. Sorry.
Not like her brother.
Well, yes, exactly. She's
Yeah.
much louder than him.
Right.
Much more outspoken, but I don't think she's targeted anyone like this. So I think it's looking maybe a bit over the top, but
Yeah,
uh,
I'll have more thoughts about that after we get through the rest of this episode, I think.
okay.
But they're
Uh,
similar.
yeah, right. So Michael John arrives, and I've just remembered as well, actually, right, we're in the middle of recording. Someone sent me I'm assuming it's a listener of the podcast. Hello, listener, whoever you are. Someone sent me a message on Instagram before I had watched the episode, and I just saw the little preview of the message, and it said something about Kira, and I didn't read it because I was worried it was a
And watch
spoiler.
yeah.
And I've just remembered it, so after we finish recording, I will have to go and read the message to see what it says. But I was worried it was a spoiler, and I was really annoyed that
Yeah.
Kira had been banished. But I guess that's not what
Ah,
happened. That's okay. But I guess heads up, any listeners. Again, I've said this before in the podcast. Don't assume I have seen the episode as soon as it is aired. I often am a couple of days behind, so a couple of times things have been spoiled before. So just be careful. But please do send messages. You can maybe just say like spoiler at the top or something.
yeah.
Anyway, yeah. Kira's going on and on. Michael John arrives then in the breakfast room. He's in fighting form, and he's talking in his interview again. I think he says they're going down, as in the other two tracers. They're going down, not me. And I don't know how he's going to manage that, but he thinks he's going to manage that. Pac-Man arrives, meaning that only at this point Gale and Mike are the two players left to possibly arrive. And Michael John does this thing again where he plays very dumb. He pretends
Hmm.
he thinks someone might have taken a shield in that mission last week. But they all know that someone definitely got a shield. So I think some of the other players are like, no, no, Michael. We know for a fact someone took the shield.
Yes.
Why are you acting like you
Yeah.
are suspecting someone took a shield? Um,
Yeah. No, Kareen just randomly took $5,000 out of the pot for the hell of it in front of
yeah.
all of them. Um, yeah, he I don't know why he does that. You know, it's it's I mean, it's one thing to play dumb, and we talked about that last time, that it's, I mentioned that it's a way that I uh see newer players, especially on Mafia,
Hmm.
that I see them. And then I was reminded of this because on Survivor, there was a secret advantage, and it was a split tribe at the merge. See, I can say these things and you sort of know them now.
Yeah, yeah.
And so half the tribe was watching, the other half of the tribe have to go through tribal council. And the half that was safe, one of them found a secret advantage and got to give it to someone else to make them safe. And he didn't want to know who it was. So he was playing Michael John during this whole time. As, she opens it up and reads it, and they're watching, and he's like, what's going on? Who's that? What? Who? What? What is that? Who did that? Did someone here do that? What's going on? And it was good acting. And we won't know till, as we're recording this tonight, until, we won't know if he succeeded in pulling it off without anyone suspecting him.
Hmm.
But it was very much like a Michael John thing, except done better.
Yeah.
If people were paying close enough attention, they might have been like, boy, you were asking a lot of weird questions there,
Yeah.
You seemed awfully in the dark. I think he pulled it off, though.
Yeah. Well, I think Michael John did not. And so
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure next week it's going to come back to bite him, finally.
Yeah.
At breakfast, then Mike arrives, which means, they all naturally assume that Gale has been murdered.
Mhm.
And we get a little flashback to the conclave. Michael John chose Gale because she was gunning for him. Okay, bit fairly obvious. We kind of knew that. Quite a straightforward reason for picking someone, but again, maybe too obvious unless
Hmm.
there's like double bluffing and all sorts going on. But I don't
Right.
think this group of faithful would be able to think that far. So, and neither does Michael John. So back at breakfast, we're back to Kira insisting that one of the saints is a traitor, and that person took the shield. And at this point, again, I thought you probably need to calm down. That's a bit too much. Like it's too accurate for you to just have guessed as a faithful. So I'm worried that this might come back to haunt her once they all find out the
Yes.
truth, if they find
Yeah.
out the truth. Like, in 3 weeks from now,
Right.
they go,
Right.
hey, remember you knew that Michael John took the shields and that he was, how did
Hmm.
you know that? We'll see. Uh, Michael John then says the first thing that I agree with. He says Kira is angry all the time, and that is going to be her downfall. And I thought, oh, yeah, actually, maybe yes. So well done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and he says he's going to use this to his advantage. I think he probably won't do that. So
No.
then I disagreed with him
No.
straight away.
I think it will be her downfall after it is his downfall.
Yes, exactly. He won't be around to use it to his
No.
advantage. But I say, who knows? Stranger things
Right.
have occurred in
That
recent
is true.
24 hours. So uh, we spread out. We're around the manor. We're out in the gardens. We see Lauren telling. I have written Lauren tells Kevin question mark because I genuinely forgot this man's name.
Ah.
Is Kevin. Lauren tells Kevin question mark. She thinks he's a traitor.
Hmm.
He thinks it's the opposite. He says, "I think you're the traitor," and they form this sort of strange alliance. Which is fine, okay, form
Yeah.
alliances, sure. But then he says this weird thing to her. He says, "If I have any say, you're not getting murdered in the middle of the night." And I thought, why are you saying this? Like, you're not a traitor. Don't
Ah.
don't feed her a line that she can then use to other people. Like, I can kind of
I
just imagine her later saying, Kate, he said this weird thing to me. He said if he had any say, I wouldn't be murdered.
The only thing I can think of is that since they were both accusing the other of being a traitor and therefore like keeping them safe,
Hmm.
I wonder if she said something similar to him first. Like,
Yeah.
well, since you think I'm a traitor, if that were true, I would keep you around. And then they
Yeah.
said it.
Yeah, yeah, that would make sense. That'd make more sense. Or he's just saying really dumb things. But yeah, that sounds it could it
Never,
could
I'm a
work.
traitor. Never.
Lauren then, but she does then go on to say something else. She says she's willing to sacrifice herself or be recruited. And I just can't understand people in this game saying they're willing to sacrifice themselves like for
Yeah.
the sake of the faithful. Like,
Yeah.
shut up, stop it. Why? You won't win
Yeah.
anything. Why are you here? She's also convinced that Melinda is a traitor and is the puppeteer. My next note is just this is nuts. So
Yes.
and of course we at the time I didn't really understand it. Then of course we get to the end of the episode. And I realized, oh, everyone is thinking this about Melinda. I didn't realize how bad it was. Okay. So,
Yeah. And I had planned to say this later, but I might as well say it now. Not only are they coming up with these the usual terrible theories about you know they need to this person to traitor for this reason, that person to traitor for that reason. They come up with these whole stories. But now not only is Melinda a traitor, Melinda is the mastermind traitor.
yeah.
Their stories, like I said, it's just ridiculous. Come on. It's bad enough that you haven't found any traitors, but now you're creating a whole mythology about them that not who the traitors are and who's in charge, as if there is a traitor in charge. I mean,
Hmm.
that's the other thing. Name me one series. Well, I can think of one. Name me one series other than Australia season 2 where one traitor is like fully in charge of doing everything and is the true puppeteer.
Hmm. Or even if a traitor's tried to do that, it's sort of ended up not ever working, I would say.
Right.
So yeah, that's funny. And I think at Roundtable as well, the idea comes back of probably Melinda, I think someone's talking about as being, yeah, the puppeteer, the mastermind. And I
Right.
think
That's when
you,
I was originally planning on talking about it, but since
yeah,
you brought it up, I was like,
yeah. It's yeah, it's all a bit mad, a bit sort of yeah. It's like you said, it's like they've created a mythology in their mind
yeah,
based on a what I don't know, and they're wrong when it turns out.
yes.
Uh, so next we see Kira. Kira's with Laurie, Neda, and Cedric outside. She's talking to them, but then they also cut between this and Kira talking to Nick and Pac-Man inside. I think she's basically having the same conversation with two groups of people, so they sort of splice it all together. She's talking
Which
about
that
MJ.
conversation is, yes, the conversation is Michael John, Michael John,
Yeah,
Michael John.
yeah. Michael John is mad. Michael John is wild. Michael John is manic. She's talking about his behavior, his voice, how agitated he is. Nick gets her on her own, and he asks her. I think they're on their own at this point. He says, "How
Yes.
confident are you?" And again, she says, "I'm 90% sure."
Hmm.
And then Nick has this interesting moment in his interview. He says his sister is his number one priority in the game. And I thought, why are you not your number one priority in the game? I mean, that's nice. And I guess if she wins, she could share some money with him. So maybe he's
Well,
like,
okay.
well, if I'm out, she's going to share it with me.
I mean, lots of people, with family, when it comes to family, in real life, it's nice to, say my family is my number one priority. If I were in the game with my kids, I
Mm,
would say my kids are my number one priority. But also, it does occur to me that while Netta has expressed concern that Kira will want her out because she needs the money and won't want to split with her, I bet Kira and Nick have a deal to split the money themselves.
yeah, yeah,
Um, and I mean, so yeah, if I went in with my kids or any relative, I would have that deal. And I wouldn't really care if I signed a contract that said you can't split the money with someone
mm,
because what are you going to do? If I want to give my relative a big gift and say it's for Christmas, what are you going to do about it?
yeah,
You know?
yeah,
Um, so obviously Netta doesn't know this, but it is for us watching an additional reason for Kira not to want to split the money at the end.
yeah.
Um, and it reminded me of when I was playing a poker tournament. So this poker tournament started, I don't know, sometime around 11 or 12, like 11 in the morning, noon. It went all night. Uh, Sun was, coming out again, and we were down to just a few people left. And one guy, a number of us were like, okay, let's just each take percentages and chop the prize pool, which is, not uncommon.
Mm,
And but he refused because he had a backer who put him into the tournament. And because of their arrangement, they were splitting the winnings 50-50.
mm,
And so at the time, he was in second place, and we would have given him some version of second place money. But he was like, no, that's not fair because I'll get less than the other people behind me. I want to get this higher amount, which would have been higher than first place money,
mm.
because he has to split it. And we're like, no, that's not the way it works. Your deal is your deal. That doesn't mean it affects all of us.
Yeah.
And he just wouldn't do it. And so the funny thing was, it pissed off the guy who was winning so much that he was just like, fine, I'm just going to shove all in on you every single hand. And he did. And eventually, this guy in second place, he called and his luck wasn't with him and he got knocked out
Mm,
in like, I don't know, fourth or fifth or something like that, got less money to split than he would have if he would have just gone along with the agreement.
yeah.
And then the rest of us immediately chopped and went home to bed. Um, Now, I know the ending doesn't really have anything to do with the Traitors, but my point is, if you already have something in mind, if Kira has come in thinking, I am going to be splitting this with Nick, then she's not going to want to split with another traitor too.
Yeah. No, definitely not.
And so, yeah. So, I mean, I think both you and I don't think Kira is making it to the end, judging by what you said earlier and what I know my opinion is. But if she does, she's not splitting.
Yeah. So Neda's concerns are definitely sort of sensible.
Yes.
Nick also says this funny thing to Kira. He says, he's not even, he says, I'm not even going to ask you if you're a traitor. And she sort of just says nothing
Right.
by the scene, by the look of the edit. Maybe
Hmm.
she did. But he says at the round table, you're going to need some really good, strong evidence if you're going to go after Michael John. We get a little clip of Kira in her interview saying the same thing. She says, I know that Nick just wants me to win. So it definitely made me think, yeah, they've talked about, at least they've agreed that she's the smarter game player. Like this is her realm. Like she's going to be
Yeah.
amazing no matter what. So maybe they've gone like you're good at this sort of thing. You're the
And
priority.
and maybe, I mean, we don't know how, they both ended up. Maybe she applied
Mm,
and or maybe she was I mean, they're both YouTubers.
yeah,
From the sounds of it, if she only makes $35,000 a year, I mean, that's pretty successful for a YouTuber, but it's not, she's not a super influencer. I
yeah,
don't know
yeah.
what I don't know what the term would be. Um, but maybe if she applied, it's possible that the production or casting looked at her and said, "Oh, well, you've also got this brother who's also a YouTuber.
Mm,
Would he like to play too?"
yeah,
And so, it could be that she was the one who kind of brought him along. We see that not as recently, but we have seen that on The Amazing Race, where you'll have like the really big fan and her husband,
yeah,
or and her, friend, or and his brother, and that person is just like there because they needed two people to run The Amazing Race.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that sounds like that could be quite realistic. They also both say that no one has said anything to about the connection that they have. No one has suggested, oh, you two look alike, or
Right.
you two sound alike, or you
Yeah.
two get on really well, or whatever. So no one is on to them. No one seems to have any idea that there's a sibling connection here.
Which
I
isn't surprising considering that, I mean, this is one of the few times that they've had a chance to talk.
Yeah, that it seems
They're
like I've never seen them together.
right. And so, and, looking at them, I mean, if you stare at them, you can pick up a few things that look a little similar, but you'd have to really be staring at them and looking for it.
Yeah,
It's,
I would not think you would notice. Well,
yeah,
no one has, so yeah.
right, right.
Yeah. It's time for the mission then. We see Gale hanging in a cage and screaming, I'm not dead.
In the rain, by the way, hanging in a cage in the rain.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kareen arrives and explains what's going on. There are six keys to choose from to potentially unlock Gale. They have to solve riddles to get to choose a key. Um, when Kareen showed them the key in the conclave, I thought there were going to be like 50 keys, and they would be
Ah,
like running it like we
yeah, me
saw
too.
a mission
Yes.
with keys in New Zealand. I thought they
Yeah.
would be like rifling through. No,
Yeah.
it's just
Like
six keys.
yeah, I thought it was needle in a haystack type of thing too, but
Yeah. So I thought, oh, six keys seems pretty easy, unless the riddles are impossible. And I mean, they obviously are quite tricky because they don't solve all of them.
mhm.
Um, and Kareen goes on with the explanation. It's a little bit convoluted. Four of them will be in the library. The riddles are hidden in books. The other players will be outside looking at plaques. They'll have to use a phone to phone the people in the library and figure out which books the riddle refers to and or what page it's on and all this stuff. In the library, we have Trana, Cedric, Melinda, and Lauren. They enter, papers and books fly everywhere. It makes me think of Ghostbusters because the first
Mm,
Ghostbusters movies in the
yes.
library, and that really scared me when I was young, all the papers flying. So it was cool. And oh, I just read this silly note, right? Every time I watch the Traitors Canada, there's an advert that sometimes comes up, like a little strip at the bottom of the screen, and it advertises like Bell Media, which must be a Canadian
Hmm.
it's like broadband because it's like your most faithful partner. And it just makes me laugh every time. I've seen it in previous episodes as well. So I don't know what Bell is, but I appreciate the marketing here. Your most faithful partner. Actually, just I saw this thing on Instagram the other day. The BBC are advertising like a new nature, a David Attenborough nature program, but they've used, I think, the Traitors music on it, and they've like, maybe I'm imagining this. I think they've got clips of Claudia, and they're like splicing up the two programs, and they're like nature's most terrible traitors with the traitors music in the background, and I saw it, and then I wanted to share it on the podcast page, and I couldn't find it again, but it really made me laugh. If I come across it again, I will share it to the podcast story. Anyway, that was just a little note. The Bell advert, your most faithful partner, really made me laugh.
Yeah.
So, Trana is going to be in charge of the phone in the library. Outside, I'm not going to go through every single part of the mission, but for the first part, Michael, John, Kevin are at a plaque about someone called Marie Joseph Corriveau. And Mike knows who she is from his true crime podcast that he does. Mike, if you're listening, let's do a collab. Let's do some cross promo. Hey, you come on this podcast, I'll come on your. I don't know anything about true crime, but I could do some research.
I checked his Instagram. I did not find his podcast, but at least a little while ago, he had a post on Instagram that said 20 million downloads. So,
Well, that's
he's
not
a
bad.
little bit ahead, but he's been doing it longer. So,
Well, that's what we'll put it down to. He's been doing it longer and nothing else.
yes, right.
Um, they figure out the page number, the library team try and find the right book. And yeah, I just made a note here. I'm not going to go through all of the clues from here on in. We see a second team solve their
Yeah, I mean,
clue.
the first one I did laugh at because it was called, it said Leaves, Eve, and Rome all did it.
Hmm.
And I'm amused by this because a couple weeks ago, a player named Rome was voted out of Survivor. And another player said in his voting confessional something to the effect of, Rome may not have been built in a day, but you sure wrecked your game in one. Um, so, so yes, Rome fell. There were lots of the fall of Rome jokes going on. So the timing on this would have been a little better if they hadn't skipped a week.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you that this seems to be a mission that looked better on paper.
Yeah.
I just feel like there was too much going on and you couldn't really follow what was going on. And people were running around in the library. And at one point, I think, accidentally found a clue in a book and started telling
Yeah.
them to use that for and I didn't rewind to see how they accidentally found it. Like, did the book just open to that page because production had accidentally creased it or something?
Hmm.
I don't know what had happened there. But yeah, it was a very, like I said, I think it seemed better on paper than in reality.
Yeah, and I think they probably had to show us that. Normally, you'd think, oh well, they'll just edit that. They accidentally found a clue,
Right.
edit it out. But because they then do actually use it to solve one of the clues, they
Right.
kind of had to show us them. So it ruins the illusion a bit, I
Mhm.
guess. But yeah, I agree. We can't see all the books on the shelves. Like we can't see what they're called, so we can't really
Yeah.
join in a way. So
And some of them apparently don't even have names. It's like, oh, find the book with the five masks or,
yeah,
something like that, or find the book with the three devils or whatever. The
yeah.
one thing I did like was that when they won, the gold came out of like
Mm,
the thing on the holding the plaque, like a little slot machine.
yeah. Yeah, it was good fun. Yeah, it made me think. I was just sort of had my sort of TV production head on. I thought, is a human being inside that plaque like throwing that money out, or is it
Ah,
some sort of? Did they build a machine for this? I don't. I like to think there was someone hiding inside it, just throwing the coins out. I would do that job on set if anyone asked me.
yeah,
So, so yeah, on it goes. Neda does this thing which they, they get to Gale and she's got the six keys on this board in front of her, and
Mhm.
Neda makes sure to let Gale pick the key so that it doesn't look like she's picking, which is okay, which is sensible, I guess. If she
Yeah,
doesn't really care about her not being murdered, just yeah, just it makes sense. I understood it.
right,
Obviously, Gale being murdered didn't seem like a massive priority for the traitors.
right.
Um, Michael gets
Except for
really
Michael.
Well, yeah, he gets really angry that the other players are doing this. He's like, "Why are they figuring out ways to save her or not choose the right key and all this stuff?"
Yeah.
I made a note to myself: how important is it really for the traitors to murder her? I don't think getting one player murdered this week is worth the risk of revealing yourself by like very obviously sabotaging the task. So I would have done the same as Ned. I would have been like, if she gets freed, fine. Like I'd rather that than do something too obvious to let
Yeah,
people see that
with
maturity.
him, like everything else that he does, it was just over dramatic. Like, I can't have her survive. It will destroy my game if she survives. And it's like, no, no, not really.
And this is also where I made a little note to myself, like a sort of I started thinking about the game and trying to sort of think behind the scenes and think tactically. So at the start of the episode, I made a joke about how there was a flaw in the mission. So here's what I think the flaw is, and maybe you picked up on this too. Surely, this whole mission makes Gale look like a definite faithful if she survives, because she. This isn't like a death row scenario
Right.
where there's three people and there could be a traitor hidden amongst it. Like this player, if they don't solve it right and they don't get the right key, she will be murdered. So surely a traitor can't put themselves in that position. Like a traitor can't murder
Well,
themselves.
I mean, that's the interesting thing is I think it's Lori who says there's a theory floating around that the
Mm,
traders put one of their own into the cage, but I don't know who spread that theory. And I think that theory is crazy.
yeah,
And that they said the Gale was a traitor and therefore Gale knew which key to pick. But
yeah,
that would be dumb on so many different levels. The most obvious being that nobody could have predicted people would have Gale choose the keys. Although I guess if you have another trader say, "Hey, Gale, you should
yeah,
choose the key," but then there's nothing saying that another faithful wouldn't just say, "No, I want to do it."
yeah, exactly. I actually
Um,
have a theory that Michael John is the person who started this crazy theory, but I'll explain why a little bit
okay,
later.
because we never then hear anything about it after that. Lori's
Yeah.
like, "Where's this crazy theory going around?" And then we never hear about it again.
And I wonder if we don't hear about it again because they then figure out, wait, that makes no sense.
But then
How
why
could
even show it to us?
so? Yeah, well, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure, but it does. I think my idea stands that a traitor surely couldn't put themselves in that position because they might end up murdered, and therefore it kind of is the ultimate proof that Gale is a faithful. Surely,
Right. Yeah.
um, and therefore, if everybody now realizes like Gale is almost certainly a faithful, and if she survives, what she does, she must know she's probably going to get murdered soon because, like, I think they'll just murder her again in a week or two because the traitors
Well, I
aren't
don't
going to.
understand, to jump ahead, I don't understand why she's not first on the list today, in
Yeah,
this episode.
yeah, because if everybody agrees universally, like, she's probably a faithful then, and after this mission,
Mhm.
she's kind of no use to the traitors to keep around. Like, they don't want
Right.
to keep players who are never going to get banished. So I
Yeah.
think she's just going to be murdered at some point. Like if I was her, I'd be like, "Oh, my game's kind of ruined now." Maybe I
Yeah.
don't know, unless she's not
Well, I
figured
mean,
that out.
otherwise she just would have been murdered. So, it's still at least
Well,
better than that.
yeah, yeah, that's true. Um, so yes, by the end of the mission, they end up with three keys out of possible six. Kira tries the first, knowing that it's the wrong one. Laurie tries the second. It almost works, not quite. Kevin tries the third, now that I figured out who Kevin is. And
Hmm.
after what seems like there was a commercial break to create a bit of
Yeah.
tension, it works. Hurrah! Everyone goes wild. And Michael John makes this big deal about I had to pretend I was happy and I was mad. So I mean, he's a great sort of character for TV.
Yes.
I'm glad he's there to because he's fun, but he's a terrible player.
Yeah.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. With the price of just about everything going up during inflation, we thought we'd bring our prices down. So to help us, we brought in a reverse auctioneer, which is apparently a thing.
Mint Mobile Unlimited Premium Wireless. How to get 30, 30, bit to get 30, bit to get 20, 20, 20, bit to get 20, 20, bit to get 15, 15, 15, 15, just $15 a month? Sold!
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes in detail.
The holiday season is now approaching, but at BlueNile.com, there's always something to celebrate. Whether you're looking for everyday elegance to elevate a casual outfit or a statement piece worthy of your biggest holiday looks, Blue Nile brings sparkle to any occasion. With some of the highest quality standards in the industry and jewelry experts on hand to answer any questions, you can be confident in your purchase. Right now, celebrate the season with 30% off at BlueNile.com. That's BlueNile.com.
Back to the manor then. The players are enjoying some Jacob's Creek, as they are in every episode. And Michael John is beside himself, not knowing what to do, his words. And I thought, there's not really any change there that you don't know what to do. This is not new. Mm-hmm. He suggests that, this is where he makes this suggestion to some of the other players that Gail had she's the one with a shield, and the traitors knew this. So they put her in the cage because I don't even understand. I've just written with a question mark. So he's got some strange and it's immediately after this that we cut to Laurie in her interview saying, oh, there's this rumor going around that she's a traitor. So I wondered if that had grown from what Michael John had suggested, maybe. But like you say, nothing seems to come of it as the episode goes on. Meanwhile, Gail herself says she noticed Michael John's strange reaction while she was in the cage. Like, she could tell that he was acting badly. Kira's very excited to hear this because she's desperate for everyone to listen. She wants Michael John out. Mm-hmm. Here comes Trana. She thinks the traitors are setting up Michael John. So she's very reliable for a wrong theory with 100% conviction this season, which also is simultaneously frustrating and great TV. Melinda's then trying to gather votes for. There's sort of lots of stuff happens really quickly at this point. Melinda's trying to gather votes for Cedric. We see Nick and Gail talking about Michael John, and Gail suggests, yes, maybe he probably is a traitor, but let's not get him right now. Let's wait a while. Let's get someone else out this week, and we'll come back to Michael John, if you're still here, Gail. Meanwhile, Kira and Nick are talking again, and they have a plan. They're going to see how the roundtable goes and give each other a nod if they think that it's the time to go in for Michael John.
Yeah, as soon as I hear this, I'm like, this is a terrible idea. If you do this, someone will notice your signal.
Yeah.
They notice signals that don't exist.
Yeah.
And you think that they're not going to notice you right at the end looking directly at someone and nodding? I mean, come on.
Yeah. And also, I feel like people have tried this before in the show and it just never works. Like, because one of the players just always backs out or forgets or realizes they can't do that in front of everyone. So it doesn't seem like it's gonna work at all.
Yeah, I think you'd be better off picking a code word if you're going to do this. Like, at some point, she just says, to not, go against Michael John would be irresponsible, or something, a word you're not otherwise going to use.
Yeah, yeah, that would work. And so we head right into the round table. It actually felt to me like there wasn't much space between the mission and the round table. There was a really small amount of time of discussion that we saw. We were sort of suddenly there. And
Karine is wearing a catcher's mask on the top of her head. I'm not sure why.
She's wearing there's some interesting things going on top of her head throughout this episode. Her hair was very interesting earlier. It caught my attention. There's this funny thing that happens going into the round table. Apart from one other thing earlier in the episode at breakfast, I think, I hadn't been thinking anything about Melinda. I didn't think anybody was looking at Melinda. But there's a clip of them all walking into round table, and Melinda says, I'm very calm going in. And I thought, why are they showing us a clip of Melinda saying that? Is this foreshadowing something bad that's got? And I was right in hindsight. But I just thought, why are they showing us? Because they don't show us lots of clips in this episode of people going in. It's just Melinda saying this one thing. So yeah, I picked up on it and I thought, oh, there's a reason they're showing us this.
I mean,
So
Kevin had been pushing Melinda earlier,
yes, that did happen earlier.
but
Yeah.
yeah.
It just didn't seem like as a big deal to me. I didn't think everybody was concerned with
No, I
Melinda.
mean, even Tranna was saying it's, between Cedric and Michael,
Mm,
and don't split on Michael.
yeah.
So,
So Karine, yes, comes in to talk to them and reminds them that there is a $42,000 prize pot, but thinks that they are not even trying to find the traitors. It's all very camp and dramatic,
right.
and she's winding them up. She says she wonders if she chose the wrong faithful. And she does a bit of this later, and I have a thought on it, but I'll come back to it. Uh, so discussions begin. Kevin says he'll start because it doesn't seem like anyone else wants to. And he focuses on Melinda straight away. He says Melinda has been in his top three since the beginning, and the way that Melinda came after Kirkland was too prepared and planned. And then I think Kevin is saying to Melinda, "Well, you accused Kirkland and you gave a big speech about why he was a traitor, and then you just sat back and you were very calm and you let it all happen." Um, and Melinda just sort of doesn't just denies it in about 3 seconds, and then
Yeah.
doesn't really say much else. That I had nothing to comment on here.
Yeah. No, I mean, Melinda seemed very not calm.
Sort of dejected or
Yeah,
resigned.
resigned. That's the word I was looking for.
Mm,
Resigned to the outcome, and then Lauren joins in and,
mm,
pushes it. And then, Tranna tries to switch it to Cedric, but Lauren points out that, Tranna was wrong when she pushed hard for Kirkland.
yeah,
And, that's when Melinda and Tranna share a nice emotional moment. But, so it's clear that the two of them have bonded,
yeah,
but nobody else cares. I mean, they care from a human standpoint, but not from a game standpoint.
yeah. There's also this really strange thing that happens here where Laurie asks Gail if she noticed anything strange in the when she was in the cage in the mission. Obviously, Laurie knows like Gail has something to say, like otherwise
Mhm.
she she's inviting her to speak. But
Right.
Gail just says, like, yes, I did notice something, but I don't want to say any more about it. It just doesn't. I thought she was going to talk about Michael John, but
Well, I wonder.
actually ends up being something different, I think.
Well, I wonder if. Well, I was wondering if it is Michael John, but that, um, there was the whole push of don't split the vote that we had
Hmm.
seen earlier. Don't talk about Michael John.
Yeah.
We'll get to him earlier. Now, of course, Kira constantly switches to Michael John.
Hmm.
At one point she says, why don't you recite your story about the shield? And then he tells the story, and I mean, it's a big nothing burger. I don't know what she was expecting out of that. Um, and then she reenacts what she says is his reaction to her asking him if he took it. Um, and then, says that she's known since day one that he was a traitor due to his body language. Now, here's the thing. If I were one of the faithful, I'd be wondering if you knew since day one,
Hmm.
why
Why
did you
didn't you?
wait till now to bring it
Yeah.
up?
Yeah. Yeah, I thought the same thing. I think she's going too hard considering that she's the only one doing it. Like if a couple of other people had mentioned Michael John and then she jumped in on top of it, that might but she's everyone else has been talking about Melinda so far.
Yeah.
So it just seems too much of a it's too risky. And it doesn't pay off yet.
Yeah.
Um
And then Lauren just switches it back to Melinda
yeah.
again with the whole mastermind thing. They need to take out the obvious mastermind. Come on,
Yes.
Matthew, it is the obvious mastermind. And how does everybody not see this? Not just a traitor, but the king traitor, queen traitor, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, the head mastermind puppeteer is the
Yeah.
phrase that she uses. And she says, which is obviously Melinda. Um,
Yes, obvious.
it's so obvious. And she says they're getting their asses kicked and they can't go down as the season who couldn't find traitors. but
Too
they're
late.
probably going to. Yes, I just wrote, yep. Uh, so it's basically time for the vote right after this.
Hmm.
So here we go. I was really surprised at how much of a landslide this was. Nera starts and votes for Melinda, and I thought, oh, right. Even at that point, I was surprised. I thought, oh, I thought you might join Kira and go for Michael John. Okay, you're going for Melinda. And then Nick does the same. Nick goes for Melinda, and I'm like, oh, okay, so you've also abandoned your plan. You obviously didn't
Well,
get the
there
nod
was
from your
right.
sister. And on it goes. Aaron's next and says, he's voting for Melinda. He says, he says, if we get this one wrong, God forgive us. And I thought, calm down, Aaron. It's not that serious. God forgive us is a bit much. Uh, Laurie votes for Melinda as well. And then it's Melinda's turn. Melinda goes for Cedric, who, funnily enough, I sort of then thought, oh, that I kind of had forgotten Cedric's been silent this whole
Ah,
episode and didn't really say anything at this round table. Wow. Um, I guess that's again. It's funny if we just go back one episode. Cedric was like high on everybody's list. They were coming for
mhm.
Cedric next to, and now no one. No, they've all switched. They've all
Well,
forgotten.
because Melinda is the obvious mastermind. You've got
Well,
to get out the obvious mastermind.
of course, of course. How silly of me. Lauren votes Melinda. Pacman votes Melinda. Yeah, I wrote a note to myself saying, "What did I miss? Like, what? Why is everyone voting for Melinda? I didn't realize this was what was going to happen." I mean, there was the little clue, like I said,
Right.
when Roundtable started and they show a clip of Melinda, but I didn't think it was going to be this landslide. Like I said, uh, Akira votes for Melinda. Everyone is just starting to get really upset. It's actually quite difficult to watch. Michael John thinks about his dead dog and cries. Um, and okay, I guess it seems like he is crying. Maybe it works.
Hmm.
Um, Tran is next and says, I think Karine is right. She chose the worst faithful. And then actually gets her vote right because she votes for Michael John, but says she doesn't think he's a traitor. It's
Right. Yeah.
hilarious. And on it goes. It's just Melinda from here on in. Mike, Cedric, Michael John, whilst crying about the dog, Gail, Kevin,
Yeah.
all vote for Melinda. Cedric even says, "I just wish you went down with a fight," because Melinda just sort of sat there, like
Hmm.
you said, really sort of resigned and resigned to the fate that is about to befall. Yeah, it's almost a unanimous landslide,
Yeah.
apart from that one vote for Michael John and Melinda's own vote for Cedric. Melinda stands up for their speech and says, "That's a lot of Melinda's." And then says, I'm in tears because I didn't think in such a short period of time I'd fall in love with as many people as they often say. They all love each other.
Hmm.
And for that, I need you all to know I've been a faithful since the beginning, as they also like to say a lot.
Yes.
His off Melinda goes really upset. A lot of them look really devastated. Trana calls them all a bunch of fucking idiots. Which is funny that Trana's saying that. And uh, meanwhile, what's really funny though is we cut to Melinda in his interview. He's having a great time now. He's like laughing. He doesn't care anymore. So he seems to be over it. It's okay. And Karine speaks to them again. And I, I had an interesting thought about this. She says, Faithful, you're in danger of running out of players. She says a couple more things, and I'm in danger of running out of patience, and storms off. And it's obviously supposed to like motivate them, like they're terrible
Right.
players. You've got to change your gameplay. But then also I thought it doesn't really like maybe I'm overthinking it. I thought, what is Karine's role in this? Like, what are we supposed to imagine? Why is she here, and who is she in this imaginary scenario? I thought in the US Traitors, Alan talks about it being his manor. He's invited them all to his manor.
Hmm.
So I sort of thought, well, is this not the same thing? Are we not supposed to believe that this is Karine's manor, and she's invited them all to play a game? Therefore, like she picked the Traitors. Doesn't she want the Traitors to win? Like I thought she should be playing it like she's actually like goading them, and like she should make fun of them a bit, like tease them for being so bad at it. Like it doesn't make sense in the fantasy world.
Yes.
that she's annoyed that they're not finding the traitors. Does this make sense?
Yeah, I think it's just that they, it's something we've seen all the hosts do. They want to discourage what we always say players should do, which is make alliances and not worry about getting out traitors.
Mm,
They want to encourage the idea that it's the faithful versus the traitors, and you
yeah.
must target the traitors. Now, in this case, do I think people are trying to get traitors? Yes, I do. But she's trying to goad them even further.
Mm,
Like, you have to do this,
yeah.
So,
I mean, it's fun to watch, but
right.
I just questioned. I was like, who is the character? Who is Kareen? What is her role here? I was maybe overthinking a bit. So we get a little bit of Trana in her interview saying, she says, I didn't know the faithful conspired to get Melinda out at the round table. Like she had no idea that this was coming, neither did I.
Mm-hmm.
And she tells them all that it was Cedric and Kevin who started the Melinda rumor, and they've all fallen for it. And Cedric then gets really annoyed and says, I didn't say Melinda's name once. Then Trana tells him to shut up. And they have a little argument, which
Mm-hmm.
was quite fun. And Lauren is realizing how completely wrong she got it and says that if she lives to see tomorrow, she's just going to take a back seat from now on. She's kind of realized I have no idea what I'm doing. So I'm just not going to speak up anymore, which is probably quite wise.
Yes, if she follows through with.
Well, yeah, it could last till morning and then she
Yeah.
goes back to what she was doing before. We leave the round table, we sort of debrief around the manor. We see Kira talking to Laurie, and she says, well, I tried to be vocal, and no one listened to me. I talked about Michael John and that shield, but it didn't work. And she says to the others that she's trying to come at this with logic. And Lauren then pipes in and says, well, yes, wait, I'll go along with you on that. Yes, that sounds good to me. We get a little bit of Michael John in his interview saying he's a bit worried. And then we see all the other players, various other players talking about Michael John now and how bad an actor he is. And I sort of thought, well, too late. If you all think this, why didn't you do something about it at the round table? Um, Meanwhile, Gail talks to Nick and claims that Aaron is the head of the snake because she noticed him in the challenge. So I was really confused here. So this is when I thought, oh, is that what you were holding back at the round table?
Oh, yeah.
So this is new to me that she thinks Aaron is the head of the snake. She says he looked at the keys. She said, I didn't really understand what she meant. She said he looked at the keys to see which ones were taken. I don't know. She thought that he was being shifty in the challenge somehow. Um, and then we get another really interesting clip of Nick talking in his interview. Well, I thought it was interesting. He says there are two possibilities. He says one, my
Mhm.
sister is a traitor and she's looking out for me. Yes, that's correct. Or he says I'm going to be murdered tonight because I'm too quiet and I don't have any alliances. And I sort of thought, well, actually, if you don't have any alliances, that's probably a motivation for the traitors not to kill you. Like, I think that's the reason that they wouldn't murder you because they don't see you as like threatening or they don't see you as a game player.
I mean, that's a good point. I think he was looking at it in terms of he's an obvious faithful.
Okay.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, I was going to say, the first part was good thinking, the second part was poor gameplay. But yeah, I mean, we haven't seen his name come up in the conclave. Obviously, one of the three would not be raising his name.
Mm,
But no one else has really named it, and she hasn't had to shove it off to the side or anything, deflect it. Maybe very early it came up. I can't remember for sure.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, either way, if he doesn't get murdered, he has to start thinking, okay, my sister's a traitor, but what's he going to do about it?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, I can't quite. I actually feel like this episode was I feel like I don't really know anything about Nick, but this
Right.
episode was the episode I saw the most of him. because he's
Yeah.
engaging a little bit more with his sister, and he's being allowed to talk about gameplay.
Yeah,
So
he's like a
yeah,
Kira side character.
yeah. We move to the conclave then to finish the episode, and Neda asks Michael John how he's feeling. He and he says he thinks that what just happened, I assume he means him being targeted by
Hmm.
Kira. He thinks it will just be swept under the rug. And Kira says, I don't think so. And she says, that's what everyone is now talking about. When we left Round Table, everyone was talking about you. So no, it won't be swept under the rug. And Neda says, do you have a game plan? Your name's coming up a lot. Kira kind of says the same. And Michael John just goes, wow. Like, he's not got a
Yeah,
clue
I
what's going
think this
on.
is another bad move on Kira's part. Because if he says, "Oh, it's all behind me, it's swept under the rug," okay, just agree with him.
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
you said you're not going to protect him, so why are you telling him? Let him live in his little imaginary world.
Yeah, that's true.
You know,
She could just say, yeah, sorry, I thought other people were going to go for you, so that's why I did it.
right?
Pretend, apologize, and move on.
Yeah, let him believe it's behind him. But now, by telling him that this is still going on, it raises the possibility that he could decide to strike back at her.
It could. I think A, she's really just generally pissed off with him and thinks that he's bad at the
Oh
game.
yeah,
But B, I think she probably correctly just thinks he's so bad at this game it doesn't matter what she says to
yeah,
him. I think she's like, I can tell you that I'm going to target you from every week from now on, and it still won't save you. So I think she just is like, you're so bad at this, I can say whatever I want. And then she just doesn't care, and I think she's maybe right in that. So
true.
we I think we pretty much then, well, I was gonna we move to they discuss who they're gonna murder. That this It's funny in the editing because you can tell them this must actually take a long time to film, because at this point I noticed Kira's hair changes. She's like, her hair's tied up and it wasn't before. I know that's just a little sort of continuity thing, but it made me think, oh, they've been here for, or vice versa. Her hair was tied up and now it's down or
Mhm.
something. But suddenly they're talking about the murder, but I noticed that probably a lot of time changed. Kira says they need to focus on. Oh, yeah, they're talking about who they want to murder, and she says they need to focus on increasing the prize pot. And I thought, okay, like sure. I like there's $42,000 in it. That's not bad, and we've talked about this many times before. Like, how important is it really to keep around players that are good at the missions?
Right.
Should that really factor? I mean, I still think it's not really the most important thing when you're thinking about who to murder. Like, even if you keep people around because you think they'll help add more money to the prize pot, that's no use if you then get banished because you made bad decisions about who you
Right.
keep in the game, and so you're not going to win the prize pot no matter what it is. So I just
Right.
always think the priority has to be, who do you want around because of what's going to happen at round table? Like, round table's the priority, not the missions, is what I'm trying to say. So I just still think let's worry about the prize pot is not shouldn't really be what you're worrying about. But
Yeah.
they discuss Pac-Man because they think that he's brought up Michael John a lot. Okay. Um, sure. And they talk about Mike. They say he's no longer a name people are talking about. So, like, he's not really high on people's suspect list. And
Mhm.
before we were keeping around for that reason. Now that reason doesn't seem to exist anymore. So maybe, and they also say he's becoming more vocal. So maybe we should just get rid of him. They talk about Trana. They say, well, she's just sort of very obviously a faithful. She's a pure
Right.
faithful, therefore she's not going to get banished. However, Kira then adds to this. She says in her interview, well, she wants rid of Trana because Trana very clearly said at Roundtable that she doesn't think Michael John is a traitor. So she's like, well, Trana's not then going to help me get Michael John out. So why do I want to keep that person around?
Yeah.
And that is essentially where the episode ends. Do you have any predictions? Who are they going to go for?
Well, first, the preview for
Oh yes,
that
I
last
didn't watch the
episode.
preview. What
Okay.
did I miss?
Not much. I mean, Cedric brings up Netta as a possibility, which I mean, I think they found the one little clip where Netta's name was mentioned,
Mm,
so I think that's a big nothing.
okay.
And then we seem to see Michael firing back at Kira in Roundtable, which I don't think is going to end up going well for him, which leads into, predictions. But I do have some final thoughts before uh, predictions. Do I even have predictions? I guess I didn't write down my predictions.
So
But
Pac-Man, Mike, and Trana, it seems like it's going to be one of those three for murder.
yeah, I think it'll be Pac-Man.
Okay.
Unless I wrote down something else, but no, I don't seem to have. I think it'll be Pac-Man because Kira mentioned that Pac-Man had been saying Michael's name.
Yeah.
And in Michael's mind, if you're saying my name, you have to go, and it doesn't matter if it'll make me look suspicious. And in Kira's mind, good, let's have him take out the person who's been saying his name, and then we can point to him.
Mm,
So I think it'll be Pac-Man, and then I think Michael will be banished.
okay. I think Pac-Man will stay for the sort of for the same reason that you gave.
Yeah,
Same reason, different outcome. I think Kira will want to keep him because he thinks Michael John is a traitor, and therefore that would be a vote that she could rely on to get him out at next round table. I think they're going to murder Trana. Mostly just because of that little clip at the very end of the episode of Kira saying, "Hey, I've got my own secret reason for wanting rid of Trana. She doesn't think
yeah,
Michael John's a traitor." So I wonder if they showed us that
yeah.
as a little bit of foreshadowing, and she's going to get her way, and Trana will be gone.
Well, it turns
Uh,
out I did write it down. I just found it in my notes, and there I had predicted the same thing when I wrote
okay.
my notes. So that's good. I do think that shortly after Michael is revealed, Kira will follow because, as we've talked about, she is too emotionally invested in this.
Yeah.
You talked about it earlier. There's a reason that one of my rules for winning Survivor and Big Brother and other shows is to not let your emotions control you.
Mm.
And she reminds me of something that my Survivor podcasting partner said on our most recent episode about the player who went out this week, in that player, every conversation kept bringing up the guy that she wanted to target. His name was Gabe. And no matter what the discussion, she would name Gabe. It would be like, oh, we should form an all women's alliance. Yes, we could form an all women's alliance and go after Gabe, And so, and Kira's the same way. Every other word is Michael. Did you see Michael? It was Michael. We're at breakfast, pass the salt, and then banish Michael.
Yeah.
I mean, it reminds me of, in the Brady Bunch, Jan's famous line, Marsha, Marsha, Marsha. Kira is Michael, Michael, Michael.
Yeah. Even though that's American, it is a reference I get.
Okay, good. So yeah, that's my thought. As far as the episode, not the most exciting. As a matter of fact, I would call it the least exciting of the episodes this season, in part because Melinda just kind of sat back and didn't even fight.
Yeah.
And then even when a clear traitor was pointed out by another traitor, everybody was like, yeah.
Yeah. Um, I have a couple of thoughts on the episode. Firstly, just to follow on from what you said a moment ago about your prediction that Michael will go maybe followed by Kira soon after. Yeah, we've seen that in at least a couple of other versions of the show that
Yes.
a traitor turns on a traitor and gets rid of them successfully, but very soon after, the other players pick up on it and they think, well, we just got like our first traitor. Who was it that helped us find that traitor? So it often doesn't work out well for the traitor
Right.
turning on their own like in such an obvious way.
Yeah.
My overall my final thought on the episode, like Jerry Springer, Jerry's final thought is a controversial question I'm going to pose. We've made lots of jokes about this group of faithful, and we've said we're episode 6 now. They still haven't banished Traitor. And so we've been laughing and saying, oh, they're a terrible group of faithful, ha ha ha. Is there a possibility that actually some of the faithful are some of the best faithfuls there are because they're deliberately not getting out traitors because they know the game and they know there's no point in getting out traitors all the time because they'll just be replaced. Are there any players here that are actually doing that very intentionally?
I was thinking about that when you were asking me about what Kareen was trying to accomplish. I was thinking about that. Is there something we're not seeing, but production knows that there are people who are doing what Lauren and Kevin were talking about?
Yeah.
I know you're a traitor and you're protecting me. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Let's just keep it going. And even though Lauren and Kevin aren't actually traitors, there could be others who are doing it as well. And that's why Kareen is really getting into it and saying, you have to get the traitors.
Yeah.
Stop doing this. You're making us all look bad. But I don't know who that relationship would be other than Kira and Nick. Who else?
I mean, there are definitely some faithful who are just getting it completely wrong and are very vocal about it, like Cedric and Trana. And I think Lauren, and maybe Laurie. But then maybe some of the guys, like maybe Aaron is so quiet we don't see much of him because he's very deliberately just going along with the crowd.
It could be. I was thinking Aaron also. But I don't know who else it could be because I don't know much about the relationships really.
Yeah.
Like no one has a relationship with Michael John that we can tell. The only reason he was protected this week, I think, was because of the push to get rid of Mastermind Melinda.
Yes.
I think a lot of them do believe Michael John is a traitor, but that Melinda was more important to get out. Other than that, maybe some people have relationships with Netta and think she could be doing it, but it's just so hard to say.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll really only be able to judge at the end, I think.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to keep it in mind as we go on and see if there's any truth behind this. Who knows? Or maybe they are all just completely useless. And
speaking of the end, we've gotten contradicting information on whether there'll be 10 or 12 episodes. So if anyone in Canada knows, let us know because, we're trying to, plan something for the end here and we don't know when the end is.
Yeah. I had assumed it would be 12 episodes, but one of the cast members themselves got in touch with me to say it was 10. So that made me think, it's 10. But maybe that cast member is A, playing me, or B, just has no idea.
I would think they would know. I had forgotten it was a cast member that told you that. Yeah. So.
It's a cast member who's not doing an amazing job in the show, so maybe they've also got this wrong. I'll say no more. Wouldn't be surprised. But love to them if they are listening.
Yeah.
We shall see what happens in the next episode, whether our predictions come true. We've got a couple of things left to cover. David, we've been playing a game. We've been playing the Traitor. I think you lied to me because you always lie to me. Did you lie?
I did.
Okay. Oh, you told me you were going to do a couple of lies as well. Unless that was your lie. I also lied to you, so I did play the game. I'm gonna start us off.
Okay.
And I only wrote a few things, and they were all sort of first half, and then I didn't notice anything strange that you said or suspicious. You said that Mike. I knew that Mike does true crime podcast because he talked about it in the episode. You said that he also does a paranormal sort of themed podcast. I thought that could be a lie because I haven't heard about it. You gave us your poker tournament story again. I thought David likes to tell these stories. Usually they are true though, and I always think they're the lie, so I don't want to be duped again. It could be the whole story was fake. It could be You said you started at 11 a.m. and you played till the night, and maybe there was some little detail there that was false. You said that I knew that Nick was a YouTuber, and you said Kira and Nick were both YouTubers, and I didn't know that. And I thought maybe that's the lie. Maybe Kira, that's not her job at all. But then that would be quite a big risk to take if you claimed that, and I knew that that wasn't true because I could have just called you out on it straight away. So you'd have to be betting that I didn't know that. So I'm going to go for the poker tournament. Something about the poker tournament story, like you didn't really start at 11 or something like that.
Nope, poker tournament story was completely true.
No.
You jokingly got the right answer before
Oh,
you trying to figure out the right answer.
what, that you
That
didn't
was
really tell more than one lie?
that's right. The only lie I told was that I was going to tell you two lies.
That's like it's like Inception. There's like layers of lying here. A lie within a lie.
Yeah, that's why I had to wait until you said the game starts now because and then say, yeah, I'm going to tell you two lies. I had to make sure the game had officially started before I quote unquote remembered that I was going to tell you two lies.
I should have picked up on it, and I wasn't quite in the zone yet. I wasn't ready. Well done. You got me. You betrayed me. Do you have any idea what I may have lied to you about, David?
There were a couple things that were possibilities. I think I'm going to go with the whole nature documentary thing. It sounds just possible, like something that they might do on Instagram, but also when you said, "Oh, I was going to forward it, but then I couldn't find it again," that part sounded a little bit suspicious. So I'm going to go with that.
Okay. I deliberately threw in a couple of things in this episode that I thought
Yeah.
might fool you, and I was successful. That that actually wasn't my lie. So BBC have put this little clip out of like Traitors meets David Attenborough nature program, and I genuinely I found it, and I thought that's really funny. I'm gonna share that, but I was on my personal Instagram account. I then changed to the podcast account and couldn't find the clip, so I couldn't share it.
Yeah.
But so it was all real. It was all true. My lie was I hadn't prepared a lie. I got almost to the end of the episode and hadn't told a lie, so I panicked and had to tell one right at the end. And I lied about there being continuity errors between Kira's hair being tied up and then not
Ah,
being tied up. I just threw that in there and it worked. Yay!
I should have known that one. They wouldn't allow continuity errors like that.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Maybe I
Damn
should
it.
I should not plan my lies from now on. I should just do it on the fly and see if I can get away with it.
Well, I spent a long time trying to figure out a lie to drop in here, but it's kind of like I said, the episode was kind of meh to me. And so there wasn't really anything that I could think to interject.
Yeah.
And, as we've discussed, I've, kind of had it up to here with lies recently anyway. Um, so, I thought of this one just before we started recording. I was, getting ready and then I thought of that and I'm like, ooh, and I ran downstairs to type it into my notes.
Yeah. I do wonder if I think you and I both watched the sort of regular version of the
Mhm.
show, and we know that they have these sort of extended ones on like Crave TV in Canada.
Yeah.
Maybe the extended version gave more insight into why everybody jumped on Melinda at this round table, although that seems like a strange thing to cut out of the main version of the show. So,
Yeah, it could have. And maybe that's the other reason that I didn't think this episode was as good because it
mm,
didn't have 10 or minutes of content that I'm used to seeing.
yeah.
I mean, I did notice like they bleeped out the swear words, whereas the other version, the streaming version doesn't normally do that.
Yeah, I noticed the same thing actually. So when I was quoting some of the swearing, I was guessing what they were
Yes.
swearing.
Well, you didn't have to guess hard. Let's
Yeah,
face it.
yeah. David, where can we find you online?
Well, I'm all over social media and reality TV podcasting. Currently podcasting about U.S. Survivor on the Rob Has a Podcast network. Name of the show being Why Blank Lost. You could find that on RHAP. They have a new website, WeKnowSurvivor.com. And then you can also find all my various accounts through my Linktree at Linktree/ David Bloomberg, and there's a dot before the EE in that URL. That's helpful in case like anything happens and my main hangout in Twitter suddenly disappears for some reason. But for now, you can find me on Twitter and Blue Sky as at David Bloomberg, on Threads as at David Bloomberg TV. At David Bloomberg TV is also my account on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, where I've been posting 2 to 3 reality TV short videos per day, generally a mix of Survivor, the Traitors Canada, the Summit, House of Villains, and different shows like that.
Yes. And as for the podcasts, as always, you can review and you can follow and subscribe on whatever platform you're using, iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Castbox, wherever. You can send questions or thoughts on the episodes to the social media accounts. I'm not explaining this very well. I say this every single week. Why is it now suddenly so complicated? You can follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at the Trader Podcast. I have a new mission. Every now and then I like to sort of set a little goal. On YouTube right now, the podcast has 457 subscribers. Thank you very much to all the people. Every week there are a couple of new people subscribed there, which is really exciting. It'd be amazing to get to 500 by the end of 2024. That's my new goal. So, even if you already listen some other way, why not subscribe on YouTube as well? It's really simple.
That's right.
And you can also get in touch by email. You can send me a message to the Podcast at gmail.com. And if you have been listening to the podcast for a long time and you're enjoying it and you wanted to keep going, you could always think about sending a little donation this way to help me keep up with the costs of the pod. So you can do that at coffee.com. The website is ko-fi.com/Matthew Keeley. David, we shall be back. This time without a 2-week break to talk about episodes, unless there's some other sport event that I don't know about in Canada. We will be back next week with episode 7. Until then, keep us on your radar.
And I would say stay traitorous, but yeah, we'll just see ya.
Bye.
$1-800-Flowers.com knows that a gift is never just a gift. A gift is an expression of everything you feel and helps build more meaningful relationships. 1-800-Flowers takes the pressure off by helping you navigate life's important moments by making it simple to find the perfect gift. From flowers and cookies to cake and chocolate, 1-800-Flowers helps guide you in finding the right gift to say how you feel. To learn more, visit 1-800-Flowers.com/ACAST. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/ACAST.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever think about switching insurance companies to see if you could save some cash? Progressive makes it easy to see if you could save when you bundle your home and auto policies. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.